Hello guys, it's new episode of the Sandbox project, and today I'm gonna show you how to create the wall pin system where you can press right mouse button and where your cursor is there will be placed a pin and this pin can be different. It depends on the type of the object you are actually interacting with. So, as you can see from the scene, in my case I have for this particular tutorial three types of objects. The red one is enemy, the yellow or orange one are loot, and whenever I place my pin outside of these two types of object is the location pin. So as you saw from the demo, it works perfectly fine. I will add the project completely free right under the description to this video. This system is, as always, pretty much expandable. You can go with whenever logic you like for each object, for each pin. It has duration, texture, and you can actually add way more different attributes to have for each particular pin. So let's begin. First of all, I'll show you the demo content, like the enemy type of object and loot. It's pretty much a placeholder. Simple cube with simple material like this enemy and this loot. I only want to show you the setup of the collision, so as you could guess, the system works by line tracing and then sphere tracing an object. So by line trace I measure the distance between my character and the points where I'm trying to reach, and sphere trace then captures the object. So to make it work perfectly fine, for each object that you want to interact with, you need to have the proper collision response. So here I have custom collision preset for the enemy and for the loot also. And as you can see, I ignore everything for the sphere collision, and except of the visibility. I use it for blocking, so when I try to trace by visibility, it will trigger. And cube has its own collision, and in case you have skeletal mesh, etc., make sure that this type of objects are encapsulated inside the collision, so the collision will trigger first. So here the same, like this and like this. So now I can close it and can continue. So first of all, let's talk about the structure of this feature. You need to have enumerator. I have location, loot, enemy, because depending on each type of enumeration we will create different type of pins. We will have one particular base class of pin, and we will create the child or children that are derived from this class, because they can have their own logic. So that's important, that's expandability. Next is the structure. Here I have only three attributes: icon, left sign, and location. Location here is a simple placeholder, because we won't be changing it through the dot table, but we will be using it to override the value for like as you saw from the demo, when you place a pin, there is a number that shows the distance between us and like between our player and our pin. So that's why we need to have this field in our structure, but we won't be changing it in data table. Next thing is to create data table using our structure. Here I have 3 presets: location, loot, enemy. So make sure that the raw name is the proper identifier. For icon I used simple texture 2D, and in my case the size of the pin is dependent on the size of the texture you have. So if you open the texture, here I have it the power of 2 and the maximum texture size is 128. So it means that this size of the pin I will have in my world. And I think I should clear my laptop, because even if I use different mic setup, the noise is pretty much, you can hear it. So, and as you can see, each element in my data table have their own unique lifetime. If you want to have it like unlimited time, you can go with the big number, or you can just inside the logic. So data table is done, enumeration is done, and structure also. Next thing is to create the interface, because we need to correspond between widget, object, and our character. The best way how to do it is to use the interface, and here I have only 2 types of functions. One is called add pin, as you can see, nothing here, and update pin data, where I have the input of my base structure. So let me show you. I know there is my face here, so that's what type of data I have here. Next thing, once we have our interface, we need to create the component. I used actor component because I don't need to have any extra transform, and I can add it to any type of character, any type of actor. So as you can see, I have 3 types of functions, and that's actually all how it works. So once you've add or create your component, go to class settings and implement our interface here. Once you've done this, go to your player character, then you need to add your component, pin component here. Simply use add component and search for it, and then you need to implement the logic for adding pins, and that's actually it. So I have component, I have right mouse button, and I use simple message through the interface with the function add pin. So once I press my right mouse button, I will add pin. So back to our logic. We have interface, we have component. Next thing is to create pin base. So it's simple actor with the widget inside. As you can see, nothing fancy here. Then we need to create data table raw handle and provide the table that we created, pins, but without raw name. We need to do this, and then when we create the child from this class, like I have here, 3 types of child, pin enemy, pin location, pin loot. They don't have any logic inside, so they're just the placeholders, but I can have it, so that's the expandability of the system. But only thing you should do for each type of your child, once you've added the data table variable, you need to open your child and provide the raw name, so enemy, location, and loot. So simple. Next thing is to create the our base structure variable, pin data, and on the event begin play you need to do this operation. So we are going to extract the data from our data table and store it as the structure data inside our base class. Then we can use it, and here is the magic. So from lifetime we can set the lifespan of our character, of our actor, so it means that when lifetime goes to 0, our pin will be automatically destroyed. Then, as you saw from the demo and as I told you earlier, we use actor location of our pin and use set member in our structure. And here I select what type of field I need to override inside my structure. So once I've done this, now my pin data has the proper location for each pin. And then, as you can see, I have widget, and here I have widget class hard pin. That's what I haven't told you. So you need to create the widget. So this will be like the visual representation of our pin in the world. So create it, and yeah, let's continue with the blueprint logic of our pin. Then we'll continue with our hard widget. So widget get user widget object, and then send the message through the interface and provide the pin data. So it means that all our widgets that we will be creating will have their own pin data with the proper location inside them. As for the widget, you can see that I use screen space and the pivot. So basically 0.5085 here is for the top left corner, because the geometry of the all widgets we have here are quads. To make it like perfectly centered and a little bit up, I use 0.5 divided by 4 for the center alignment, so it's 0.125, and 0.25 to make it a little bit higher. Also make sure that your widget actually has no collision and that it doesn't cast any shadow. Let me quickly check. Yep, that's actually all that we have for our pin. So, as I told you, you can press right mouse button and select create child blueprint, assign a proper data, and yep, you'll have different type of pins. Let me see if I have missed something. No. Now let's talk about our HUD, and then we will go back to our pin component. So for our HUD here, I have like image, which is size to content, and the text. also size to content, and a little bit offset. So make sure that they both are variables. Now let's go to the graph. And here, in the class settings, we need to provide the interface. So now we can implement the functions. Let's talk about variables. So pin data. So once we have the event updates pin data from our interface, we need to store it to our local reference variable. Next thing is to break the structure and use the icon we have from the data to set it as the texture for our widget. Make sure that match size is selected. Next thing is to set timer by event and store our timer. With the time of 0.2 and looping state, it means that we will be updating this logic every 0.2 seconds. You can go with different values. And here we are measuring the distance between our character and the pin. So, as you remember from earlier moments, we store location, then we can get play character or get opening player, get his location and use distance node to calculate the distance between our vectors and provide it to our text. So that's how our text will be shown, and you will see the distance measuring. And to withdraw a fractional digit, you can go with the maximum here of 0. And when our actor, our pin, is destroyed, it means that event destruct will trigger and our hard element will be destroyed also. So for this, to stop actually the timer ticking, we need to do this type of logic. Clear and validate timer by handle when our widget is destroyed. That's actually it. Make sure that you have the custom event and provide the name of the custom event for the create event node here. Now let's go to the last element we need to discuss. It's our component. So first of all, I have two different functions. The first one is calculate distance. So it's for the first line trace, get play camera manager, and here we can get camera location. It's the start point of our trace. Now from this we need to get forward vector and multiply it by something high value, like 100,000 units, and this is the endpoint, so we can trace for a long distance. Go and play around with this value as you like. So this actually is quite high, I guess 10 kilometers maybe. And this is function, and as you can see, it's pure function, so I don't need to have any exact nodes. I only have the output with the start and end, both are vectors. So here we also need to implement our interface, and here we need to add event add pin. So when player character press right mouse button, he sends this message, and this message is heard by this component, and this event will trigger. Then we use line trace by channel on visibility and use our function to have the proper start and end points. Then we need to check whether we have the blocking hit. If it's so, we store our location, and then we use sphere trace to gather object with the proper radius. Also trace by visibility, the same type of logic here, and we store our hit actor as our local reference. here is the magic. So to check whether we are actually overlapping with our enemy, it goes the first. If you need to check like the priority of the priority of the object that you are overlapping with, you need to actually change the order of these nodes. So if you want to loot to have the high priority, you need to cast to it first and then go to the cast failed and so on. So as you can see, first of all, enemy is priority number 1. If it succeeds, I have the function which is called create pin, and here we actually, as you can see, we have our pin type, our enumeration, where we use switch on enumeration type and select between which type of pin we need to create. So if it's enemy, we are using enemy here. If we cast fail, then we use cast to loot. The same if loot actually triggers. Here we have create pin for loot. If cast fails, it means that we are not like we are actually overlapping with any type of object. So this can be location. And for the create pin, I store location inside this variable. So this means that we need to provide the transform for each of our pin, and we can use location into transform with the automatic convert node and provide the proper class. So spawn actor from class for each particular type of enumeration, particular type of pin. And that's actually it. And now one quick demonstration. So we are actually let me show you how it works with the debug drawer, so you see everything. So first one, shooting, you can see line trace, and there was the sphere trace, like this, like this, like this, and our location pins, because we don't overlap with any type of object. So red one is our enemy, yellow one is the loot, loot, enemy, enemy, and you can see how it works. So sphere collision, to actually properly get the object. So line trace is pretty much precise, but you need to like aim quite good, and to overcome with actually to fix a lot of different bugs. The second trace as the sphere trace is the perfect choice, and everything works fine. So guys, that's actually it. I hope you like my tutorial. I actually have one coming up, it's for the inventory system, but I need to take a little, I need to have a rest for I guess 2 or 3 weeks, because I actually didn't have it for a very long time. But when I come back, you'll see another ton of content that I have prepared for you. So if you want to support me, you can go to and visit my Patreon page. I also do have the Discord channel, so you can ask questions there. So see you soon.